Yep, I finally did it. I sold my Pentax medium format kit and I bought the Canon EOS R5. It feels good, it feels right. Is it because it's the best camera in the world? Probably not. So let me just explain why I bought the Canon R5, also why I got rid of the medium format kit, and let's also talk about that overheating issue that's actually not an issue at all. Oh, and all you Canon M50 fans, don't worry, I still have my Canon M50 and I'm not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon. So I bought the Canon EOS R5, and that's not because it's the best camera in the world, but for me, at this point in my life, in my career, this camera makes sense to me. It feels right. And of course, that's not entirely objective, there's always a little subjective side to that, but I'm not a Canon fanboy. I had no problem ditching Canon for Pentax, but now I'm coming back, because I feel that they've made the camera that I need right now. And the main reason why I wanted a new camera is video capabilities. I'm doing 50-50 video and photography these days, and one camera that does both well just makes sense. We all know the specs, it's clear that this will be a great camera for both. Of course, no one knows 100% sure how this camera will do in real life because it's not here yet. Buying a camera before it's out is always a small risk. But honestly, the best things that happened to me in my life happened when I took a risk. So, you know, the thing is, the best camera in the world just doesn't exist. Only the best camera for you or the best camera for me exists. If you don't like the Canon R5, that's totally fine, but don't tell me that it's a bad camera because this or that. Because I mean, seriously, it's a great camera. Why do people always hate on people when they have a specific camera? I guess the internet will always be the internet. I always gladly give advice on anything or tell you why I bought something, why it makes sense, and if you don't agree, that's fine. Anyway, so yeah, I think that the Canon R5 is the perfect camera for me, for what I use my cameras for. But that's something that everybody has to decide for themselves, right? This camera is aimed at hybrid shooters. Don't buy it for video. If you want to buy a camera for video, then buy a Red or a Canon C200, whatever. The R5 is here for hybrid shooters. And if you're not, then don't buy it. And if you're a hybrid shooter who desperately wants to shoot weddings in 4K at 60 frames per second, then also don't buy it because the overheating will probably be an issue for you. The bottom line is that this camera hopefully will be the perfect tool for me to do my job, because I'll have one camera to do video, photography, YouTube stuff, client work, assignments, and that's huge for me. All that in one camera. Now, what about the R6? Well, I thought about that too, but the R6 only has 20 megapixels and I like to print my work big. And 20 megapixels just isn't enough for that. I'm not saying that more megapixels is better, but if you print your work large, then you know that it makes a difference, 20 megapixels or 45 megapixels. If you don't make large prints, then just go for the R6, because it's a great camera too. Wow, so much drama over nothing really. It's incredible. I really don't see the issue. But again, that's for me, how I'm gonna use this camera. Yeah, it overheats after 20 minutes shooting 8K. Seems totally normal to me. But then when I hear people say that that will make it unusable to shoot weddings or interviews, I'm like, what? Do you shoot weddings or interviews in 8K? Who are you? Who does that? All the resolutions that I use 75% of the time don't overheat according to Canon's statement. And yeah, 4K 120 frames per second for just 15 minutes seems short, but this is not a cinema camera with cooling fans. To me, it all seems very normal and not an issue at all. The only thing that I thought was weird was that there was no 1080p at 120 frames per second, but it seems like they're gonna add that, so hopefully they do. I think the real issue here is people making it an issue. At least wait until it's actually here, and then when it turns out that it's not usable for you, for what you want to use this camera for, then just buy another camera. But just stop with all the complaining. They finally made a great camera, and it's still not good enough for some people. Alright, the Pentax 645Z, the love of my life. Remember? It still is, but at some point you just have to make decisions. Decisions that make sense, you know? And love, a lot of time, doesn't make sense. So there you go. I still think it's the best camera I ever had, but at this point with what I'm doing now, it just doesn't make sense to keep it. The Pentax was just gonna sit there waiting for a specific special project, and I just can't afford that. The value will go down every year, and it was just the best option right now to sell it. I actually bought the R5 with the money I got for the Pentax, and I still have some left. So there you go, seems like a good deal, right? Does that mean I'm done with medium format? No. Because you know what's even better than digital medium format? Medium format film. So it makes a lot more sense to me that somewhere in the future I'll buy a second-hand medium format film camera for those specific projects. It will be cheaper and the results will be better. I'm really glad I sold the Pentax now because I still got a really good price for it. There you go, guys. I'm super excited for the Canon R5, but you've probably heard it will be delayed. So my Canon M50 is a little bit lonely right now. It's okay, we'll have fun. Yeah, I think it will be at least a month before I get it. So in the meantime, it will be all M50 content and we're gonna get creative with it. I have some really cool ideas for videos. Expect the first one somewhere next week. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.